Kent Wagner stretched and allowed the soft sound of his alarm tone to settle over him. He spent enough time with the emergency bell waking him that he preferred something gentler for home. It took him a bit of time to find the right sound, but once he had, he basked in the calming chimes. "Turn it off," the voice next to him grumbled. He rolled to his side, did as requested, and then turned toward the form buried under a pile of blankets. Kent liked his apartment to be chilly. He slept better that way. His girlfriend, Maeve, favored warmth. To her, a room needed to be 70 or higher for a good night's sleep. A year into their relationship, and this was one of the two things they hadn't seen eye to eye on, the other being if they should move in together. Early on, when they couldn't get enough of each other, Maeve had brought up cohabitation. Kent wasn't necessarily ready at the time. When he brought it up months later, Maeve brushed it under the rug, where the topic seemed to stay. It bothered him, her change of heart. He thought they had a great relationship when they were together. Lately, Maeve seemed off. Kent couldn't pinpoint what off meant, though, and kept his thoughts to himself. Kent lifted the blankets, brushed her tangled hair aside, and kissed her cheek. "Have a good day at work." He slipped out of bed and went into the bathroom to shower and get ready for work. Maeve would text him later after she left, and they'd text throughout the day, but they wouldn't see each other for a couple of days. Kent worked 24 on, 48 off, for the San Francisco Fire Department as a paramedic, while Maeve had what she called a boring 9-to-5 office job. On his way to the station, he stopped at his favorite coffee shop, Rocco Bean. He stood in the doorway for a second longer than he needed and inhaled deeply. He loved the smell of freshly ground coffee beans, which was the main reason he stopped there every day. The shop was one of those blink and you'd miss it places, and the only reason he knew about it was because he once responded to a call there. Ever since, it had become part of his morning routine. Sure, they had coffee at the station, but nothing beat Rocco Bean. He placed his usual order, added a slice of recently baked banana bread, and waited off to the side. By the time his name was called, he had finished the pastry and desperately wished he had bought 2 pieces, but he needed to get to work before shift change and made a mental note to double up tomorrow morning. Kent arrived at the station an hour before his shift started. He had a routine and rarely deviated from it. The 10 years he'd spent in the Army as a medic had trained him in ways only other soldiers could appreciate, and because of this, Kent liked things a certain way. He set his coffee and the one he'd bought for his partner of 3 years, Damian Caruso, down on a bench and went to his rig. It was his and Damian's responsibility to restock the bus before their shift started, although most medics would do this after every call, unless they'd been out on calls all night. It was a rarity for Kent and Damian to have to fully restock before their shift. Kent opened the back door and climbed inside. He checked the oxygen levels on the portable units and verified that they were securely in place. He ran his hand over the stretcher to confirm it was ready for use. Finally, he checked the first aid supplies and made a note on his phone of what they needed. In the event the alarm sounded now, they would have sufficient supplies in the field. Once Kent was satisfied with the inside, he went around to the driver's side door, hopped in, and started the rig. While he waited for the red dial to reach the F on the gas gauge, he flipped the lights and turned on the siren, although the currently sleeping crew probably wasn't thrilled. With the tank full, Kent turned off the truck and hopped out. By the time he finished, the new shift crew had arrived. With both coffees in hand, Kent said good morning to the crew that was about to leave. Most were groggy, and he wondered if there had been a lot of calls the night before.